Good morning and welcome. I'll speak very slowly so you have time to get to your seat. But I know there has been a lot of activity around the exhibits, and that's great. That's the kind of activity that we like to see. But I do want to keep us on schedule today. I can see out there, kinda. But I want to welcome you to the third statewide STEM conference and Governor's Advisory Council meeting. And really, thank you for sharing your day with us. If those of you who recall this event last year, a show of hands of how many made it here in the storm. Snowmageddon, was that Snowmageddon Day? I don't quite remember, but this is much better, so we're glad you all made it safely, although there was some hail and thunder and tornado activity yesterday, so I'm glad you made it here. For those of you that I don't know, I'm Cindy Dietz, and I'm the Director of Corporate Communication for Rockwell Collins, and I've kind of been a fixture in this STEM journey in the state of Iowa, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as your MC this morning. And I know it's going to be a STEM-tastic day. We have some awe-STEM programs to share with you, and you can tell I'm trying to outdo Jeff Weld. So as you're here this morning, we hope that you are on social media using @IASTEM and hashtag #IASTEM. I want to see what kind of STEM words you come up with, because I know we have some STEM-orific thought leaders out there. As I said, we're very happy to have you. We're also very happy and thankful for the sponsors who made today possible, including the Iowa Association of Business and Industry and their Elevate Beyond Manufacturing program, the Iowa Business Council, Iowa Biotech Association, ACT, John Deere, Kemen, Pella, Principal, Rockwell Collins, Standard Bearings, Unity Point Health, Vermeer, Hy-Vee, the Technology Association of Iowa, and Skilled Iowa. So these are our proud sponsors, and they're doing more than just providing the funding for events like today. They're also sponsors with us throughout the state and engaged with activities. So let's get some blood flowing and have a little round of applause. You know, we are very blessed here in Iowa to have wonderful leadership of our state STEM initiative. Our co-chairs are very passionate and committed through words and actions. So I'm going to introduce both of them and then have them come up and make some remarks. Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds grew up in St. Charles, Iowa, and served in a number of elected county positions before running for state senate. In 2010, she became Governor Terry Branstad's running mate and ultimately was elected lieutenant governor. As co-chair of the Governor's STEM Advisory Council, she's become one of Iowa's most vocal STEM champions and has been recognized as one of STEM Connector's 100 women leaders in STEM. And I have to say, just last week at the National Lieutenant Governors Association meeting in Washington, D.C., she was getting shout-outs galore for the STEM activities in Iowa. And it was I thought, she orchestrated this, but no, it was very genuine. These other state leaders were looking to Kim and the state of Iowa for the things we have accomplished in the short time that we've had the formal STEM initiative. And the governor's co-chair is Mary Andringa, CEO of Vermeer Corporation, a global industrial and agricultural equipment company headquartered in Pella. Mary brings an enhanced viewpoint, I think, as a former classroom teacher and now a business leader. She understands the importance of helping teachers and students connect and relate to real-world applications of math and science. She's a strong believer in continuous improvement and innovation, and that these principles can be applied to our education system. And finally, as a state and national leader in manufacturing industry, she's passionate and engaged about engaging other businesses in the work of the STEM Council. So you'll have a chance to hear from Mary in just a moment, but first, please welcome Iowa Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Cindy, for that very nice introduction. And I want to say, first and foremost, it wasn't me that was getting the recognition. It was Iowa and all of you that was getting the recognition for the great things that are happening with STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math across this great state. So please know that all the acknowledgement has to do with the partnerships and really the dedication of so many people in this room to make that happen. And I'm just proud to be able to represent Iowa in that capacity. I want to extend a warm welcome and my deep appreciation to everyone here today for making time to attend the third statewide STEM conference. Jeff and I were talking this morning. I think we started out with about 100 people. Last year, we had almost 400 registered, I think, but with a storm, we had about 250 that were able to make it. And I'm really proud to say that nearly 500 people have registered for this conference this year. So let's keep that momentum going. As Cindy said, I have the amazing opportunity to co-chair the STEM Advisory Council with Mary Andringa, who is the president and CEO of Vermeer Manufacturing. And Mary has brought such value add to this initiative, and it's been a wonderful opportunity to serve with her as the co-chair. And I'm certainly thrilled to be here with all of you today. Mary and I are here for the entire day, so we're attending the breakouts and listening to the keynote speakers, and so we're not in and leaving. We are here with you for the day. You certainly are a big reason the Governor's STEM Advisory Council has made since it was established in July of 2011, and what I'm seeing is Iowa definitely supports STEM. Whether directly involved with the STEM Council or engaged in STEM in other ways, we really are together making a difference in the lives of children all across the state. And really, that's been our goal since the very beginning, to increase student interest and achievement in STEM, which will open doors to exciting career opportunities, all the while strengthening the STEM talent pipeline for Iowa business and industry. We want to build on this amazing STEM momentum, and I can't hardly believe that the Governor's STEM Advisory Council will mark its third anniversary in July. So much has happened in such a short time frame. So real quickly, I'm going to highlight some of the events that have happened over this short time frame since the inception. Iowa Scale Up Initiatives is expected to reach more than 100,000 children this school year with top-notch STEM education programs. And whether they're presenting in front of the Executive Council or we're right now doing STEM town halls across the state of Iowa, we're getting a chance to see people utilizing like HyperStream, where a 7th grader from Stilwell designed a robotic dog and a guitar because she loves music, and she implemented that into coding a guitar that just happens to play Smoke on the Water. The executive board was rocking out with that. Harlan School District, where really STEM, and not just Harlan, I'm seeing this in other school districts, but where STEM is a culture of the school district and the community, all kinds of partnering going on with the Iowa State Extension. Or Marshalltown, where after we did the town hall, a 3rd grader raised her hand and she said to the governor, "I want to know how you see this STEM thing playing out, because I want to be a scientist." Now this is a 3rd grader. Or another little girl to the left of her raised her hand and she said, "I want to be an entrepreneur because I want to start and own my own business." And I thought to myself, I can hardly spell entrepreneur, you know? Or at Mount Pleasant, where we had team or children that were participating in Project Lead the Way actually were designing the STEM classroom that they had received an award and a match for in their school district. And currently we have 4 Iowa schools who are fulfilling their commitment to becoming a model STEM-focused schools and classrooms. We have 6 Iowa schools who have just finished the OECD, which is a highly regarded international test, so that Iowa can have a global benchmark in science and math and reading. Community conversations around the report will take place soon, not only in the 6 towns, but statewide as well. New STEM teaching endorsements are offered by the Iowa Board of Educational Examiners, and many Iowa colleges and universities are beginning to draw up programs. 150 sites across Iowa schools and community colleges are now implementing IT certifications for students through the Microsoft IT Academy. Iowa's informal STEM educational organizations and higher education institutions are united in addressing Iowa's STEM challenges like never before. The Iowa business sector, led by wonderful examples including Rockwell Collins, Principal, John Deere, Vermeer, many, many more, ABI and IBC have stepped up to really back the council's efforts to develop a more robust STEM workforce. The state's STEM Council investment has been leveraged to draw more than $2 million in additional funding from federal, foundation, industry, and partner cost-share programs. And of course, our new brand, Greatness Stems from Iowans, is showing up on billboards and presentations across Iowa. All this is helping to move from 26% awareness in 2012 to 41% awareness in the 2013 survey, with a more stronger recognition more is sure to come. So now it's my pleasure, I think, to show the council's new STEM PSA featuring Iowa native and Pinterest CEO Ben Silberman. So again, I'm so grateful for the work that Iowans are doing to move STEM forward in the state. The vision, the hard work of the STEM Council's Executive Director, Jeff Weld, and staff, including our 6 regional hub managers, have meant hundreds of new opportunities and partnerships have been forged. The commitment of educators, students, and their families, and the generous support from the Iowa legislature, and the contributions of business and industry, as well as the higher education institutions, which are housing 6 of our regional hubs, plus the service of so many other Iowans in a variety of ways, is truly transformational. Iowa students deserve the best STEM education possible, and we are on our way to providing it. So now it is my great, great pleasure to turn the podium over to not only a friend, but a leader in business and industry and the co-chair of this great initiative, Mary Andringa.
Well, thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and it is a great pleasure for me also to say welcome to all of you. You all are great influencers, and you've had made a great commitment to STEM, and first of all, we just want to say thank you for that commitment. There is a wide variety of folks here today. Of course, we have fantastic educators, K through 12, community colleges, four-year institutions, the universities. We have not-for-profits. We have many, and in fact, all of our scale-up providers. And so be sure you take a time to spend some time in the exhibits during breaks, because you're going to see what great programs we're working with. But there's also business and industry people, government people from various levels. So we've got a great mixture of people here today. And I just want to ask each of you to connect. Today, connect with someone maybe in your region, someone you didn't know before. You can pick up some great ideas. And one of the really fantastic things that's happening within the regional hub areas in this initiative is the STEM regional managers connecting, in particular, education and business so that we can collaborate a lot more together. And I know it's a little bit hard to see, and this is a huge room, but I would like to make sure that if you're in a region of the state, you know who your hub manager is, who can help connect you to either educators or to business and industry. So I'm going to ask these people to stand up, and we're going to go from west to east, just like we do on Ragbri. In the southwest area, we've got Deb Frazee. Up in the northwest, we have Kari Webb. In the south central, we have Sarah Derry. In the north central is Lynn Campbell. In the southeast is Christine Bullock. Okay, and in the Northeast right now, we're just in a transition. James was a phenomenal hub leader. He's on to another position, and we are hoping to have a yes, you're going to join the team in a few days or maybe even today from the next hub manager. And I also just want to make sure that all of you know who Jeff Weld is. I know Jeff, I think you're speaking later, but take a stand. So as we connect, I think it's also great today to understand how much collaboration is going on within the state. You've heard some of the sponsor names, but whether it's Iowa Business Council, Iowa Association of Business and Industry, the Iowa Biotech Association, the Technology Association, professional developers of the state, chambers, local development people, just a lot of great members that are part of these organizations who are very focused on the STEM initiative. And when the Lieutenant Governor talked about how many students are touched, when we think about what industry is connecting with, we've already had over 200 STEM externships that have been happening in the summers mostly in business. And this is just such a great opportunity for our businesses like mine to see the great resources and the great people who are educating and teaching and influence our students and our skilled workforce for the future. But it's also an opportunity for the teachers to see the kinds of skills that are needed in today's industry, in today's manufacturing, for instance. And so that's a great connection. That's a great example of collaboration. Also, we have over 3,000 classrooms that are involved in this, in particularly implementing the STEM Council program. And again, some of the scale-up programs, et cetera. And in over half of those classrooms, these programs require business mentors or coaches. And I think that for the folks who have been these business mentors, it is a great opportunity for them to share real-life experiences with students and with classrooms, but it's also a great way just to support these students in their total growth development. And it's really a fantastic experience for the mentor themselves as well. So we've got lots of great examples around the state, and I know some names have already been mentioned, but companies that have externships, teachers that have bring students on, that have been working with robotics, that have been working with the underserved schools, and just groups that have really launched a lot of their own initiatives. And I know Vermeer is just one example, but we've had teacher internships for 7 years now, externships, STEM externships for the last couple of years. We had last year 900 students that came to our premises to learn about the kinds of career opportunities, and most of them are very much STEM related. We continue to have a lot of college internships every summer, and I know a lot of the business and industry around the state has that. And it's a phenomenal opportunity to not only connect with these great young people, but also hopefully keep them in the state for the future. And another thing, which I think sometimes we don't think about, is the number of employees in industry that are connected with their local school boards, are connected on advisory committees in community colleges, as trustees of colleges, and these are all ways to make connections. So as we connect, as we collaborate together, we're also all really contributing to the future of our state. A few weeks ago, I was at the board meeting of the National Association of Manufacturing. A lot of great examples across the country. We had 2 different sessions absolutely focused on the workforce of the future and STEM initiatives happening around the country. But I can tell you that there is something very special about what's happening in Iowa. The governor made it one of his top priorities when he was campaigning and has continued to keep that focus. To have the lieutenant governor as the co-chair, and she's the driver, believe me, she's passionate about this, to have her energy into this initiative. And I've always thought education STEM, this is the best bipartisan issue there is for the state and for the country. We have something special in Iowa. And many years ago, I was asked by one of the lean gurus why Iowa is such a hotbed for lean or continuous improvement. And I believe the same thing is true with STEM. It's because we have groups who are willing to coordinate and collaborate together, whether it's a school or a community college, it's business, it's government, it's healthcare. Whatever it is, we are a state that comes together and makes things happen. Greatness really does stem from Iowans. So thank you for being part of this initiative. Thank you for your contributions today. And I'm going to ask you, make sure you connect with somebody you don't know, connect with somebody in your region where there can be more collaborative possibilities for the future. And again, thank you for your contribution.
Well, thank you to Mary and Lieutenant Governor, because it really is the commitment at the top that empowers all the grassroots efforts that have become the hallmark of the STEM initiative. And as we're showing you today, the point of this gathering is to highlight the activities and the progress that we've made, but also to engage you in where do we go next and what can we do next and how do we continue to move this forward. And I thought this heat map in the new brochure was very telling, because when we started this initiative 3 years ago, there was a lot more white. And look at that now. There are very few places in the state where there's nothing happening. So thank you for all of that. And what we want to do is give you a glimpse into the classroom, a peek into the STEM activities and programming that are taking place all around the state. Now, we thought we could bring students here and do a show and tell, but with all those snow days, really not a good idea. We want to keep kids in the classroom and connected as much as possible. So throughout the day, we're going to be showing some video vignettes to give you a sense of what these programs are all about. And the first this morning is A World in Motion. This is a current scale-up program that's developed by the Society of Automotive Engineers. So please watch, and if you'd like more information, you can look for that AWIM exhibit later today. So let's take a look. Wow, a little bit of STEM-spiration for all of us, right? I love how they can talk about these things, I mean, using theories and so they're not just doing the science and the hands-on activities, but they're really absorbing all of that and then able to communicate that to as adults. And so it's all of those pieces together, because I couldn't see the video, but I could hear the excitement in their voices and understand exactly what was going on. So these are the kinds of programs that are really engaging our students and hopefully hook them and keep them engaged throughout their high school, college, and into their careers. So this morning, we have a STEM success story, although I'm not sure it would have been described that way when Ben Milne took on his adventure as an entrepreneur. Ben is the founder and CEO of Dwolla, which is a free web-based software platform that allows users to send, receive, and request funds from any other user. Dwolla's maximum transaction cost is significantly less than traditional payment platforms. I'm sure we'll learn a little bit more about this, but Ben grew up in Cedar Falls and started his first company at the age of 18. Since then, he's been moving up forward, developed Dwolla, and he's going to give us his story of his STEM journey. But I'll just let you know that Ben was named one of Forbes 30 Under 30 in finance in 2012 and has been featured on Bloomberg TV, the Business Insider, and has presented at the South by Southwest Tech Conference. So we're very pleased to have Ben Milne.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. Every time I'm invited to an education event, I always make a point to get there. I was probably one of these students in your classrooms that had a lot of trouble in school. In this video, I probably would have been the student that was actually saying, well, jets seem to have fire, so I would probably have lit the car on fire. I was a tough student. I grew up, went to school just like all the students you have now. So there's nothing inherently special about me at all for most people in the room. The primary difference is that I went to school in Iowa. I have a 12th grade education. I didn't last in college. So the things that I do know and the things that I did discover, I learned from Iowa teachers. So from you and your constituents. And for that, I owe you a huge thank you. Education, as you all know, is not a recital. You can't teach people things they can use by making them repeat it over and over. It's just not the way great things are built. It's a tool, but frankly, we all know it's not enough. If it was enough, we wouldn't be here today trying to find ways to improve it, to make it easier for kids to learn and apply the things that they're taught. And so today I've got two takeaways for you. One of them should be pretty obvious, and I think you already believe in it. STEM can't die. This is pretty obvious. You're already doing a tremendous job. It's already working. The things that I think you want to get out of it are already being done. Corporations are starting to take notice. Kids are starting to create ridiculously wonderful things. And it's happening right here in Iowa without really honestly changing the world, but it may if you keep opening the door for these kids. And the second, I need to keep you engaged, so I'll tell you at the end, and I've got an ask for you. So my story, as I said, I grew up in Iowa. I didn't do a stint at Facebook, and I didn't work at Twitter. I've never worked at a big tech company. And fortunately, I've been able to recruit people from them, but I've never been inside one. I grew up next to a cornfield in Iowa, Cedar Falls, actually. And I'm simply curious. So I don't know what the moment in my life was when my grandmother said having a junk drawer was a good idea. But when I was a kid, and maybe it's just because my grandparents weren't super wealthy, they'd give me things to take apart and put back together. So I got the broken radio, the broken toaster, the broken television. And it rarely worked when I put it back together, but that was an opportunity they gave me at home. That was the same thing as what's up here, having a craft area, having a place to have a hacker space, things like that. What I realized was the entire world essentially can be reverse engineered. You can cut anything in half. Everything is simply a sum of its parts, and it is that simple. The speaker is just molded PP, it's just a diaphragm and a suspension and a ceramic motor on the other side. Somewhere in between, there's a thing that converts energy to an alternating current signal that makes sound. Everything can be cut in half. I learned that in school. My grandma accelerated it, and I didn't know how to use it for a really long time. I didn't have a teacher that taught me that. And that's something that I want to challenge you guys to think about today. My life totally changed when I met these men and people like them. Does anybody recognize at least one person on this slide? Awesome, Suku from Bankers Trust. So when I got to Des Moines, Suku had no reason to help me. I had another company, it was doing okay. I decided I wanted to get into banking, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I just had a problem I knew I needed to solve. How many people know what interchange fees are? So for those that don't, interchange fees are simply a tax merchants have to pay in the United States that accounts to about $60 billion annually. It's a massive problem, it's completely unseen, and no one really talks about it. That's the problem I wanted to solve. Banks actually make a lot of money on interchange fees, and a bank CEO locally helped me actually understand how to solve my problem. It's pretty special. The other one, basically on the upper right on my slide, Upper right. His name's Albert Wanger. Albert's one of our board members at Dwolla, and actually was an early investor in Twitter, Zynga, Foursquare, and companies like that. Albert's been a great mentor to me over time. Mark, the other guy, most people might know is like Echo Unlimited. How many people have ever seen the t-shirts with like the big rhino on it? That's Mark. Mark's also a style guy, but he's got a lot of attitude, and he likes to make things happen. He's taught me a lot about how to take the things that were built into myself and actually leverage them to get things done. And so you as teachers and educators gave me the tools I needed to go do these things, but it wasn't until later in life that somebody else started opening those doors for me and starting to show me how to put them to work where I could actually create something that had some value. And for me, that was all about how I could build a software platform that replaced things in the physical world. How many people have a card in your pocket? Does anyone not have a card in your pocket? Besides me, since I forgot my wallet today. So basically what I do now for a living is essentially I replace pieces of the physical world with virtual software. And in doing so, I give money back to governments, I give money back to businesses, I protect consumers better, and I actually get money to move faster than it can in the United States economy. Our system is better than what the government has in place today, and we continue to distribute it every day a little bit more. We believe that what we're here to do is build the ideal way to move money, which is essentially where money moves in real time, which today, that's just not the way it functions. It seems so obvious that it should, because I can text anybody in the room and you'd have it instantly, but money just doesn't work that way. That's what our technology does. It's not sexy, but it has a lot of value. Our pricing model is not complicated. Everything under $10 is free. Everything over $10 up to a few billion dollars is 25 cents a transaction. Try charging 3% on a $20 million tax transaction, and you'll see why that's valuable to the government. There's no limits in our system. Money is simply data. We get it from point A to point B as quickly as humanly possible. And these very simple things, unfortunately, are a little bit complicated and also take time. However, Des Moines and Iowa embraced us from day one. Today, Dwolla serves more small business locations than Starbucks has locations globally. And we did it without a marketing budget. We did it through a simple value proposition that people who found us taught us how to put to work, and we did it from Des Moines. We didn't leave, we didn't go to the valley. We have 45 people employed in downtown Des Moines in the financial building. How many people know where that's at? It's about 3 blocks from here for those that don't. We've recruited people from all over the country, and the picture with a lot of people is basically the number of people who showed up when we launched one particular feature. Des Moines has always shown up for us, and Iowa is a great place to build a business. As more of your students start launching companies, it's important that they know that Iowa is a great place to do this, where they feel like they don't have to go other places. And this is not something that I put on here to impress you. I put it up here to impress upon you that I am not responsible for these things. I was fortunate enough to be named one of MIT's top 35 under 35 global innovators, and I had nothing to do with that. I am the dumbest person in every single room with the people I work with. Everyone is more educated. Everyone knows how to get things done. Everything understands things better than I do at all points in time. And the people in Iowa that I met and I found gave me these opportunities and these things. And thankfully now they're just really great recruiting tools. So we've recruited people whose background is Google, PayPal, Twitter. We're bringing those people into an Iowa company to help us build the best technology company we can in the world, and we're finding the world's best talent. You can do it in Iowa. So when you think about what you do with STEM, what you're actually doing is you're giving your students a hilarious superpower. I mean, I know it's a little bit hyperbolic, but it's true. You're teaching them to see things that otherwise they would never see in the world. When they look at a pear, maybe they see the chemical composition rather than just a fruit. At the end of the day, a power supply that drives the amplifier that makes the sound has a schematic, and some of your students are going to start to see that. They're going to start to live it. It's going to become a religion for them. An equal sign is not going to be the end of an equation for some of your students. It's going to be a store of energy, a capacitor. And where they apply that could change the way industries work. For some of your students, alcohol will be a substance abuse problem. For some of your students, it will simply be a way to actually improve efficiencies in a combustion engine. It's all about the application of what they learn because you give them this power, and it's an incredible power. Some of your students will learn about doors, others will learn about circuits, but if they don't know, they can't put it to work, and only you can give it to them. The first one of these is not necessarily important. However, the second is the energy that your students will have will require the world to change in order to accommodate it. And by opening the right doors for them, you can teach them how to apply it with the tools that you give them. You can only do that because you're the only ones with access to these kids as you give them these new tools. You're going to give them a hammer, teach them where to swing it. And it's going to be outside of the classroom when it really starts making an impact. You think about things like John Deere. Somebody looked at a tractor at one point and said, how can I teach this thing to drive itself? Somebody taught them the foundations of GPS, longitude, latitude, and somebody looked at a library that actually started thinking about the application of a Boolean search, started thinking about indexing the databases in order to get the information out faster. Today, that's a fairly large company. I think everybody in the room probably uses Google on a regular basis. Some people look at cars and they see luxury, and other people look at inefficiencies in combustion engines and think about restructuring the power grid. Think about Tesla. These things are happening right underneath us, and they're simply people with information around the very things that STEM do, or STEM does, with the tools to actually put that knowledge to work. And this is exactly what you taught me to do with Dwolla. It's inefficiencies in money as we ship it around. How many people carry cash or have cash on them? Cash is simply a physical personification of value represented in a database. It starts in a database at this point. We simply have an inefficient means to exchange it. The way we exchange it causes breaches like what happened at Target. How many people got a new card because of what happened at Target? I mean, that is hilarious. Hilarious not in the sense that I'm happy that happened, but without that happening, I wouldn't have that point, and it's very important to my argument. So, thank you for participating in that. However, when we looked at it, we not only saw the cost issue, but we saw a lot of the exposure issues and things that could simply change. Why are we shipping around this value when it's stored in a computer anyway? Why doesn't the world have a better system? When money stopped being a thing that was printed but just a stream of data, Dwolla did that. I learned how to do that in Iowa. I learned from your classrooms. I learned with the computers that were in the computer labs, and yes, I used to skip journalism class constantly to go screw around on the library computers. But programs probably like STEM put those computers in the library, and without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. So again, thank you. If I want to see who's around me, I want to see who I can pay, I shouldn't have to distribute a whole bunch of physical devices and spend tens of thousands of dollars manufacturing them in China. I should be able to just do a query. That's what Dwolla does. You should think about cards. Dwolla replaced the information you leave behind every time you use a card with data that is essentially meaningless that represents an authorization. It's gobbledygook, but allows you to get the things you want and need, and it protects you. Again, these are the things that you taught me, but it took somebody else to actually come in later in my life and say, this is how you can put them to work, this is what you don't know. And as the physical world is eaten by the virtual world, the reality is we're optimizing the things that are part of our everyday life, especially in Iowa. Whether or not it's information, agriculture, distribution of energy, and when we think about it, it's all interrelated anyway. As Dwolla moved its first $1 billion, there was nothing but data that moved. And again, that's something that I learned from Iowa teachers. I got to this conclusion from the education I got up through 12th grade in Iowa. And it's allowed me to build something I think is relatively valuable that can be used by a lot of different people all over the world. Today, it's used by everybody from coffee shops down the street to governments. And I think we're going to continue to distribute in a meaningful way. The Iowa government, believe it or not, was actually the first government to say this has value, we're going to adopt it, and we're going to figure out how we can use that. That is ridiculously special. As a company that does business with a lot of different government entities at this point, that doesn't happen anywhere else. So STEM gives your students the ability to understand complex things that other people may just glance and look over. That's going to set them apart. It's going to give them a superpower in life that otherwise they would never have. I want to stress on this. You are the missing link in all of this. You can go Google all the world's knowledge because you have access to a computer, and it's free. There are relationships, however, that you have within your peer groups, within teachers, within faculty, at higher education organizations that otherwise students would never get access to. Without you, they don't have access to them. So think not just about the things that you're going to teach them or show them, but about where you can help them go. The number of students or the number of years your students spend in the classroom will impact humanity far less than what they're empowered to create. It doesn't matter how much they know if they can't put it to work for somebody else's benefit. And that's what you guys need to help them do. Which brings me to my last point. I'm almost done, which is my final ask. If you do one thing today, open a door. Not for each other, not for the people in this room, but for a student who can't open it for themselves. For somebody who's got so much pent-up energy, they don't know where to put it. Who does stupid things like lights the car on fire instead of puts air in it. Because it might just create a whole bunch of jobs. It might let them pass that message on to somebody else, and you'll do a world of good. Thank you for your time.
I just want to say, wow, when you think about STEM giving kids superpowers, I mean, that's so empowering. That's amazing when you think about the power that we have. And as someone who did go to journalism class and graduated with a journalism degree, I forgive you, but isn't he awesome? Think about the power that we all have to let, students explore and really dig into what they're interested in. And what our role is to enable and empower them, give them the tools. We don't have to know what the answer is at the end that they're going to go do or create or become. And that's really inspirational. So thank you, Ben, for sharing your story and an example of the greatness that stems from Iowa. So thank you. A great message. And some of the other messages this morning we're going to share with you are going to take place in our breakout sessions. So we want to give you another peek into a STEM classroom. The first video highlights Project Lead the Way's engineering curriculum. This curriculum is designed to promote critical thinking, creativity, innovation, and real-world problem-solving skills for all students. So let's take a look. So it's really cool to see. We could have showed promotional videos to give you a sense of the programs, but we thought it was really important that we show Iowa classrooms with Iowa kids and Iowa teachers really engaging in these programs and projects. Well, our second video features Defined STEM. This is a new scale-up program, and it's a web-based content resource that brings the core fundamentals of STEM education to life for all K-12 teachers and students within a school. So let's take a look at this one. So now it's time to get up and get energized and engage in our breakout sessions. Please go and enjoy the breakout sessions. Come back and we'll get you energized with some food, and we will hear from some real live students on a panel over lunch. So thank you.